here's your heads up to this. Yeah, it's quite a good long podcast, and it's all about challenging yourself. And the hardest thing is challenging your own beliefs. Just like my belief was challenged. I'm going to tell you all about that and the result of it and how things changed. Okay? And there's also a great how-to. So have a listen. Well, after this.
Warning.
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 Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Hey, how are you doing? It's Paul Clough from Personal Development Unplugged, making things simple, but not too simple. Simple things, sometimes they're not easy. We're breaking things down into simple ways of doing things, but it takes effort. And that's something I'm going to be talking about in detail another time. So I don't know why I'm talking about it now, Paul. Well, here's the thing. The other day, something happened to me. I was listening to something and it got me really thinking about this. Have you ever had your beliefs challenged? Of course you have. And when that happens, what does it feel like? Does it feel like someone's really pushing up against, the very core, the structure of you? I think it does. Certainly when I've had my beliefs challenged, and this is what happened. I'm going to talk about having my belief challenged and how it made me feel and what I did about it and why I think it's really important to have your beliefs challenged. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But the thing is, although when you have your beliefs challenged, it feels like people are attacking you, or it does. Well, maybe you're talking about yourself here, Cluffy. Well, I think I am, but I want you to just think back when something you've said, something you believe in, has been challenged by somebody. Just notice and remember that. What did it feel like? Now, switch that on its head. Have you ever heard somebody say something, their beliefs, and you've challenged their belief? Man, do they hold on to it? Yeah, they do. They hold on to it as hard and as fast and as tough and as tight as you hold on to your beliefs, don't you? And I really stopped to think about this. I teach it. I teach about beliefs. I teach about having core beliefs and how you can change a core belief if that core belief is no longer supporting you. Because some people even think you can't change a core belief, but that's BS. But again, that's another day. But the thing is, as I said, I very rarely stop and think about this too deeply because my beliefs are right. They're right. And the thing is, I bet you think exactly the same. Not that my beliefs are right. They're only right if they're the same as yours because your beliefs are right. Because we wouldn't believe our beliefs if we didn't really believe they were right. Another flash of the bleeding obvious, Cluffy. But the thing is, here's what happened. Let me tell you a story, a true story, just the other day. I was walking along, as I do, earphones on, listening to people talk and things like that. It's where I learned so much. And I learned something really big about this. Because it was someone who had been talking and hadn't written a book about what you do is your identity. It has nothing to do with your values or beliefs. And I stopped walking. I went, whoa, what is all of this? What you do is your identity? Has nothing to do with your beliefs and values? And I listened, and maybe for the first time with an open mind, because normally I would have just said, what a load of BS. That's it, I'm not listening. But I did listen. I listened with an open mind. Because it got me thinking of what I've been thinking about before and what I've been trying to learn. You need to challenge yourself. And you need to challenge what you believe in. Test it. Because if you don't, you'll never find, the truth, I guess. The truth as it is at that very moment in time. And you see, you've got to test it, and you either then come back, with data, and you come back and go, I'm still happy to believe this, live my life with this belief, or notice what happens and you change. But the thing is, apparently, your beliefs and value have nothing to do with your identity. Is what you do is your identity. And as I this is what rocked me, because I do not believe that in one bit. Yet this guy was really, well, that was his belief, and he'd written about it. So I thought to myself, and I wrote about this in my notes here, because I thought I just got to share this with you. Because when your beliefs are rock, and also I was very proud of myself to just say, okay, I'm going to listen to this with as much as an open mind as possible. Yeah, I've got my biases, we all have. But you see, you have to compare this with why and what I believe. Why I believe it, I teach what I believe, because I can't do anything else. I can only tell you, and when I teach NLP and hypnosis to practitioners to want to be the best they can, I can only teach what I believe is the right thing. I don't know any other. Well, I do know other, but I don't believe in them. And the thing is, when I learnt this in my NLP practitioner, it resonated so much that I didn't know anything about it before, but when I heard about it, it resonated, and I thought, yes, this just seems right. Is there data for it? Don't think so. I know it's been challenged before, but even the challenges I've seen and read about didn't really hold water. They felt like they were it was being challenged just for the sake of challenging it to let someone appear to be special. You know, I'm a bigger person than the person who thought this through. Now, here's the thing. The person who thought this bit through and put it forward is a guy called Robert Dilts. Now, Robert Dilts is an awesome human being. He is, in fact, I did my trainer's training with him because he was the only person I would go to do trainer's training with, because I respected the work he'd done for so long. And I was amazed that I never wanted to be a trainer of NLP. But when, for various reasons, I had to choose somebody, I chose him. And the thing is, what he taught was not there at the trainer's training, but it was taught because that's what he believes in. It was called Robert or Dilts Logical Levels. And basically, I say the word, Paul, basically, and it is simple. And that's, again, maybe I didn't know about simplicity before doing this podcast, and Einstein in Simplicity There's Genius, but it was so simple, it made sense to me. Now, you see, if you could imagine a triangle, and in that triangle, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like little layers, getting smaller and smaller to the top. So it's like a little triangle, and then there's 4 other layers. And then the bottom layer was environment. And it was explained this way. Environment, well, that's where you do your things. Do your stuff. This is where you live. I don't know why I said it like that, live. But could be anywhere where you are, where you do your stuff. The next category, or next level above that, are your behaviors. The things that you do. That's it. They're just the behaviors, the things that you do. Above that is capabilities, or your skills, the things that you're really good at, what you've learned to do. And above that, the penultimate part of this pyramid is beliefs and values. And it's very difficult to separate a value and beliefs, because what's important, you believe is important, is a belief, and it's important to you. Therefore, it's a value, and you believe in these values. And the two are so intrinsically, if I can say the word, linked in my mind that they just work. And above that is your identity. And the way this sort of model works is, if you start from the top, your identity is who you are, the am. And in some ways it's made up of your beliefs and values, your core beliefs, the things that you feel and know and just get that they're the most important things in your life. Yes, they do change, but they are your beliefs, they're your values, which come from your identity. And the thing is, because if you believe something's important, you'll learn to do those skills. And therefore you have capabilities. So your capabilities are born out in some ways from your beliefs and values, because the things that you believe in, you can do, you will begin to learn. If they're important to you, you will learn them. We all know if there's something isn't important to us, we will just ignore it. Let it go by. There's the things that are important to us that we value are the things that we're going to pay attention to. And the thing is then, when you have those skills, you create the behaviors. The things that you do, because they're born out of the skills. You don't do the things that you can't do. You might learn how to do them, and then you do them. So you have the skills and then you do them. And that means when you have the skills that you do, and if you really believe them, so if you start from the top, if you have a real belief and a value of your skills, you'll be doing them, but you'll be doing them anyway. It doesn't matter which environment you're in. You'll be able to do them because you believe in yourself, your identity. Now, what evidence do I have that this is a good thing to believe in? Because I don't have data. It felt right. That was my first bit of data of a thought, my evidence. It just seemed to be right. Now, the thing is, it seemed quite a pretty solid view, but I'd seen people change in the workplace. They change their life. You know these people. You've been around them. They have problems with a particular type of person at work. Maybe it's their boss, or maybe it's their clients. They have the problems. They've always got that drama going on in their lives. So what do? They change jobs. What happens? 5 minutes later, they're telling you about they've got the same type of problems. That this manager doesn't understand me either. Their rules are not what I need. They're all clashing with me. You see people in relationships, in a bad relationship. They move relationships. And guess what? They're in the same type of relationship. They've attracted the same type of person. Where's the common denominator? Them. So it's not the environment. That was what I was getting. Now, another bit of data or something I've experienced, and I know you have. Do you know people, maybe real close to home, you, but do you know somebody who's not you, that has real skills, real capabilities, yet they don't believe in themselves? You do. You know they could do things. You know they would be awesome at doing that thing, but they don't believe in it, or they don't find it important. So it's not a value to them. So what do? Well, they don't use that skill, do they? So you have to believe, I guess. Well, not a guess, in my view. You have to believe in yourself and find things important, have value in them to be able to use the skills that you've learned, your behaviors. Now, let me think now. Turn this on its head, I guess. If you haven't a skill that you want to do, so do the behavior of that skill, if it's important to you, you will do anything, everything to learn that skill because it's important. And you also believe that you can do it. The thing is, if you don't believe in it, you're not even going to bother to learn it, are you? How many times have you thought about to yourself, and this is like these New Year's resolutions, which I don't do and I don't like, but people say, this is what I'm going to do, but they don't bother to learn the skill to do it. They don't do the behavior because they haven't got the skill. Why? Because ultimately they don't believe in it. It's not really that important to it. Because if it was that important to them, they wouldn't have to resolve to do it. They would just do it. And the other thing about this is, what I do know, and this is my only bit of data, and this is the way I teach therapy. When a client comes to me, if I try to change their behavior, which I can do in an instant, does it last? Not if I just change things at a behavioral level. It's like you can break a pattern interrupt, but you have to have something else. If you don't believe in it, it ain't going to work. Just trying to change your behavior is bloody hard because there are things, maybe you haven't got the skill to do the other bit. But the thing is, if I can find the root cause of the issue at a belief level, identity level, so something I am not worthy, I'm not good enough, then I know we're going to resolve this issue. And when I do resolve this issue with them, or they resolve it with me, more it's a do with process, I know that it's going to stick because they're going to change their beliefs at an identity level, who they really are. So they're going to take, I'm not worthy. We're going to learn from it, get rid of it, find out the root cause and just let it go. And then we've got a void for the real true belief to come in. I am awesome. It's okay. I'm okay. Something of that line, identity level beliefs, which will then filter into things, the importance of things that back up that belief, that are entwined with that belief, which means they will either use the skills they've got or they'll learn better skills. But generally the skills are all there. They just haven't been using them because of that identity belief. They'll start doing things. They'll be doing the things they want to do because now they believe in themselves and they have the skills and they're going to use the skills. And it doesn't give it doesn't matter. That's a better way of putting it without swearing, Paul. It Doesn't matter in where you do this. You will do those skills and you'll get the results anywhere. It doesn't matter what environment you're in. You will do those things. And I've seen that over and over again, because when I get that, that's why I used to go wrong in therapy, because I used to hit it at a behavioral level, maybe a skill level. Well, you need to learn this. Let me get you your learning skills, with hypnosis and things. But if they didn't really believe or value it, or that identity, it just didn't happen. Or it did happen, but it didn't last. So that's how I got this thing going in my head. So I had to really think about it. I thought, well, it doesn't make sense now that what you do is your identity. Because for me, this simple triangle, this simple logical levels that I believed in wasn't changed. It didn't change because of what the person was saying. But the thing is, this is what I got. If you really believe in yourself, you'll do those skills. If you really believe in yourself and find things of value, you will do those things. So in effect, what you do is the evidence of your identity and your beliefs and values. Does that make sense? Because it was really important to me to challenge what I thought, because I could have changed one of my whole core beliefs, and I've been trained this for years, but it actually reinforced what I thought. So when I put this all together and asked myself, has what this other person said changed my mind? So not really. I don't agree with what you do is your identity. Maybe, as I said before, what it's like is what you do shows your true identity. Because you see, some people can tell you that they are honest. And I have this wonderful importance I place on honesty. Yet they'll tell you, give you an example where they hadn't been totally honest with somebody, or they've been given the wrong change in the supermarket, the shops, or something hadn't been rung through at the till, or they just mischarged and they didn't stand up and say, I'm sorry, that's wrong. But they're honest and no, that's incongruent. You're not aligned. You're incongruent. And the thing is, that's the whole point, I think, of personal development, because I know I'm incongruent. Not all the time, but I know there are things that I believe in that sometimes I don't do. I'm going to work on that. And that's what it's all about, moving towards wholeness. We said this before on the podcast, is every process, certainly in the NLP frame that I work in, every process should lead to wholeness. And wholeness is congruence and alignment. Yeah, there'll be areas of our life that don't quite stack up. And they're the areas that you're not aligned. Because I know when I've said things, I know that they're not aligning with what I really believe in. I've said it and I maybe shouldn't have said it. And I get that feeling. Have you had that feeling before when you've done something or said something and, it's just something that you're a little bit ashamed of maybe because you didn't live up to the values and the beliefs that you hold? Now, I think it's a good thing, by the way, because when you get that feeling, here's something to work on. It's when we bloody ignore it. Oh, that doesn't really matter. I've got these good beliefs and values. No, it does bloody matter. And this is your little red flag to say, hey, this is where you're incongruent. This is where you're unaligned, not aligned with the wholeness of who you really are, your real identity. And I think that's when we know we can do some work, real work. And it doesn't have to be massive, deep diving work. It's just knowing that and then finding the right process to bring us back to wholeness. Sometimes it's literally just sitting down and thinking, writing these things out in a journal, and suddenly getting that aha moment, getting our unconscious mind to learn at that unconscious level, and even just realizing that, yeah, that was me, but it affected me in a negative way. I'm going to commit to not doing that type of thing again, because I've just learned that doesn't align with my true beliefs, my true values. That would be awesome when you pick that up. That's a learning. That's a change. Because you can change in a moment. So I've got a question to you. What do you believe in? What are those areas of value that you have? Because when you understand your beliefs and values, and then you notice that funny feeling when you're actually behaving in conflict, and we call it conflict, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 letters, so it's quite a big word. But it doesn't have to be that bigger effect. They're just in conflict with each other. So your behaviors and your beliefs are just in conflict with each other. When we go, yay, that's awesome. Something inside me has picked this out. This is something to work on. This is how I'm going to get better. Because when I learn from it and change from it and I become more aligned, I'm starting to learn. So this is really, I guess, I think the thing what maybe I learned about this, it was more about observing. And then, I have my two highest values are trust and honesty. And if I'm ignoring something like that, that's dishonest in my view. And if that's dishonest, how can you trust? So I had to sit down and think about this, check my values, and then check, am I living to them, to live in alignment? I mean, basically, it comes down to just asking your unconscious mind, I guess. What do I really believe in? What are my values? How do you do that? Well, that's maybe a bit deeper than we could go into right now, I guess. Maybe we could in another podcast go really deep. But here's something you could do to start off with, just to get an idea. We've talked about it, I think, before, but it's those wonderful sticky pads. Because I want to give you a how-to. I just remembered that. That's why I'm looking at the time thinking, well, we've gone on a bit. But this is, I think, some of the ways the podcasts are going to start to go in 2020 plus. A bit more deeper, but with some serious how-tos. And maybe just understanding your values. Now, you have values in all areas of your life. So if you wrote down every area of your life, such as health, career, relationships, family, spirituality, and you can go on and on and on. You could find your values in each and every area. And maybe we will do a values podcast and we will go into every area. And because when you do that and you find there are clashes between one area's values and another area of your life values, that's where conflict occurs. And here's a quick example of that would be, I have the most highest value for my family. This is an example, by the way. I do have a high value of family, but this is purely example because I'll just see how it goes. But if I was to have the most highest value for my family, everything I do is for my family because they are my highest value in my life. Now, in order to support my family with the highest value that I can give to them, I'm going to work 7 days a week. I'm going to work in those 7 days 18 hours a day, and then I'm going to come home, and then I'm going to go to bed, and then I get up and I'm going to work again because I'm providing for my family, the family that I value so highly. Can you see where the clash comes? The clash in values, the conflict in values? I'm spending no bloody time with my family. Yeah, they're getting the best things, but the family that I really love and adore, and I'm not with them. Now there's a clash, isn't there? Because that family will begin to resent me because I'm never there, or possibly resent me. They won't maybe remember me because they don't see me. Now, it's in that clash of values that you have to then work through both of those to find where the clash is, where the conflict is, and resolve it, integrate it, learn from it. So that's what we're going to talk about in another podcast, that is. But the thing is, to start off with, it's interesting to understand just your core values about maybe just yourself, who you are, what you believe in. So, and how do you do that, Cluffy? I'm going to tell you. I'll say that better than that. Hey, I'll tell you. That's a nicer way, isn't it? I want you to get the old Post-it pads, or a Post-it pad rather. And I'm sure there's many different type of pads you can get which are available on the market and all that rubbish. But I use Post-it pads, and I'm not sponsored by them. Talking about Cluffy. So you get those sticky pads, or pad or sticky papers, and you say to yourself, okay, what's really important in my life? What's really important in my life? And something comes up, and you write it down. And then you go, okay, I've written it down. I'm going to stick it over there so I don't see it. Just out corner of my eye. It's on the desk over the corner, but I'm working on this other desk. What else is important to me in my life? Who I am, what I do. Oh, this comes to mind. Now, if you can get someone to do this with you, it's easier because you don't have to write the bloody thing because they could be writing it down and asking you the next question because after a while it starts to roll because the first couple sometimes come really quickly because they're conscious. But the more you go through this, what else is important to you? Because if I was doing it with you, I'd be going, and what else is important to you about your life? What you do? Oh, it's that, is it? Okay, and what else? And while I'm writing that out, I'm actually saying to you, and what else? Not giving you time to think about what you've just said, and not really thinking about what you're going to say next. Because when you're not thinking about it, it's coming from your unconscious mind. That's what I believe. Another belief, Paul. And the faster you do it, so it's good to get someone to just say, just keep saying this to me. And what else do you believe? What else do you believe? What else do you believe in your life and what you do? What's important to you? And you keep doing that over and over and over again till you get about 10 or 12 values. So it could be love. It could be family. It could be having possessions. I don't know. It could be absolutely anything. It could be music. It could be your hobby. It doesn't matter. Because what we don't do is to have a critic here. There is no criticism. There is no commentary on this. It is purely what comes out of your mouth without thinking. And then what you do is you stick them all on a big piece of paper or a card or a book or whatever, and you look at them all. And you just say to yourself, if I could only have one, what is the most important value or what's important to me on those stickers? What's the most important one to me right now? What jumps off the page that is the most important? And don't spend, that's a very interesting question, Cluffy. I'll think about this for an hour or two. No, what comes just like that? Because again, it's an unconscious choice. So you stick that up and write a big number 1 and put it to the side. You don't look at it. And then you go, okay, if I could have, what else? What is the number 1 important thing that is left on that page? Which value that I've said is the most important thing to me right now above anything else? Boom, quickly. And you put that number 2, put it to the side. And then you go, okay, what else? What's the next thing? And you carry on doing that as quick as possible. So again, you might get somebody else, but you can write number 2 on it and stick it down, number 3 on it, stick it down, number 4. It doesn't take long because this is yours now. Maybe you want to do it, personally, because no one else is going to see. But now you've got a hierarchy. And when you've done them all, you'll tend to find, I'm not going to tell you, this is, again, just so you give you an idea. The one, and it always surprises me, and it surprised me when I did mine. I tend to think the one that came out first or second will be right at the top. Sometimes it was in different areas of my life. But a lot of the times, it was ones that were teased out of me, as it were. The ones which were really unconscious. And that's where I got my trust and honesty. And when I did this type of exercise with the guy I ended up working with for 15 years without a contract of employment, I did this exercise with him to find out what his values were, to make sure they didn't clash with mine. And trust and honesty were in his top 3. Mine were in my top 2. And I just thought to myself, I'm not going to tell him mine. If he asks, I'll tell him. But I just thought to myself, this is just like a marriage made in heaven. I found somebody who holds my same values. And again, what data do you have that it works, Paul? Well, in those 15 years, without a contract. We never had an argument. Or we had one discussion, as it were, about money. It lasted for about 60 seconds. And we both looked at each other and said, I don't like this type of conversation, do you, Mike? And he said, no, Paul, we'll resolve it. It's going to be resolved. Let's just get on and do our thing. And we always trusted each other. If he never criticized me, he would ask me questions about if I'd done something, and I had the honesty to say yes or no. I did the same with him, and he had the trust in me to either do the things for him. Sometimes he would say, can you do this for me? He'd trust me to do the things as well as he could. And I could never do it as well as he, but he trusted me to do it. He trusted me with big decisions, but he also trusted me not to do anything without talking to him in an honest sort of way. I think I was the only person in that company who never automatically said, oh yes, Mike, that's what we'll do, whatever you say. So he could trust me to be honest with him. And he likewise with me. And it made such a good thing. And I always came back to those values. And when we do our values podcast, if that's of interest to you, I'll give you examples how I used it in a company, in the company I was working with Mike, and how we found the values of some of our workforce, some of the people who work with us, and how we were able to make their life better by understanding what was important to them. That was the whole point. But anyway, that's for another time. If you wish to go through your values, and I really suggest you do, you may find when you look at them, there may be a little clash. You say, well, I really think that ought to be higher. When I look at it now, it doesn't feel right. Great. Say yay. That is a slight clash. And we're going to work on that in the next podcast. So I do ask if you could just do that. I do it every now and again when I'm thinking about something and I just want to know what's important to me. Because, going back right to the beginning, your values and your beliefs around those values, I think, are formed by your true identity. And therefore, when you understand them, you can find those conflicts, find those areas of incongruence where you're not aligned, so you know there's things to work on. Maybe you find there's a conflict in those values. So again, you find places to work on. And we've got the tools to work on them right here. So let's go right back to the beginning. Yeah, I still believe in that actually your beliefs and values and your identity is who you really are. One thing I didn't tell you is the top part of after identity goes up in another triangle, another way, and that's your connection with everything else. And that's a real deeper level, and that's something I just like to explore, just to sit with. But hey, let's do this first. Keeping things simple, not too simple. They don't have to be any simpler than they need to be. They need to be simple. But what I'm going to be talking about, another podcast, I made some notes today, is just because things are simple doesn't mean they're easy. Have to be honest with yourself. And that sometimes can be quite difficult because you start to learn about yourself. And that's a wonderful thing to do, but it can be a little difficult. But when you learn from it, man, you will grow. Your life will change. Well, I can't think of how there's that number that keeps getting bigger and bigger exponentially, if that's the way to say it. It will change that way. So there you go. And the thing is, if you're going to challenge your beliefs, just keep looking everywhere for them now. Because you know the challenge is not an argument. It's just being asked to look again. Are you where it's at? Because some things do change. And when you find that change, you go, yeah, actually, that does change what I believe now. It also changed my values. Therefore, my life is now more aligned, more whole. Because we think we know everything, but there's so much to learn, so much to learn. I really hope that you've enjoyed this, and I'd love to hear from you. I don't know why I paused there for a little while, but I'd love to hear just some of your thoughts about maybe what I've been talking about, this difference between behaviors, identity, and beliefs and values. Maybe you have a different slant on it. It'd be awesome to hear about it. But also, if you did that, oh, you will do it, won't you? Talking to your unconscious mind, do it. What did you learn? What did you learn about yourself? Maybe you learned something that you didn't know. I certainly didn't know that trust and honesty were my top values. I hadn't even thought about it. And I looked back in my past before that and I thought I wasn't the most trustful person. Maybe I wasn't the most honest of people. But now I have changed, and that is something that I live with. And I have to abide by because it feels so right. So right. Anyway, if you let me know, how do you let me know, Paul? No, I say that again. How do I let you know, Paul? That's better. You do it through the email feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. That's it. Simple as that. It's all kept private, so don't worry about going onto a list. You only come onto the list if you come onto paulcloughonline.com/podcast. That's the only way you get on my list, unless you ask to in a different way. And I'll also thinking about had great success, by the way, on the competition, the draw for Free Your Life of Anxiety and the Supreme Inner Confidence courses. The winners have been notified. They're already doing the course. And guess what? While I was looking to do the draw and pull things out, do you know what I decided to do? I gave everyone, not just the confidence or just the anxiety course, I gave them both at once. So they got an awesome deal. Well, I hope it's awesome. We're going to find out later. But hey, they're the type of things I'm thinking about doing. So sign up to that list. You'll get information. You'll get new hypnosis and maybe the odd, little free draw to come in. See what you can get. You got to be in it to win it. And that's the whole thing about life, isn't it? You got to be in it 100% to win at life. Just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy, but let's go ahead and do it. Have more fun than you can stand and live such a wonderful life. Oh, I'm getting a bit too soppy now. Have a great time. Let's make this decade absolutely awesome. Just listen to this last bit and do, if you would, my little request. Okay? See you next time. Hope it's not been too long. Bye-bye now. Before you go, my friend, I'd like to ask you a question. Did you learn something from this episode? Hope you did, because even though every episode may not be the one that really floats your boat, sets you, alight, hopefully there's a takeaway in each and every episode for you. And I'd love to know what it was. So please do email me at feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. It's a personal email to me. I'd love to know so we can carry on doing this work that will allow you to exceed your dreams. And what's the payment for this? Payment, Cluffy? What are you talking about payment? I thought it was free. Well, it's like pay it forward. And if you could pay this forward in 2 ways, or maybe 3. The first way is please share it. Share this podcast with as many people as you could. And you can. It's very easy. Just press that share button. Send it off by email to them. You'd love to. This is something you might get that right, Paul. Something you might enjoy. And hey, if you could, a real big pay it forward to me is wherever you're getting this podcast, is it iTunes, Castbox, or Stitcher, or whichever you're getting it from, Google Play, I don't know. Would you please just leave a review? Because the review really helps people find this podcast. There's thousands out there, and I want to direct people to this podcast. And the way to do it is by reviews. So if you could do that, if you could share, you could do that. And also just make sure that you're subscribed so you get this episode and every other episode on a Wednesday and a Saturday. If you could do all of that, my little heart will sing. And if you want me to sing, well, you'll have to wait and see. Enjoy. But please do all of that. Make my heart sing. Bye-bye now.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.